Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, uh, as far as of now, I think it's very much clear what are data types, their built-in data types, and then you've got user-defined data types, right? And obviously, as the name suggests, user-defined data types are the data types that the user makes or the user defines them. They're not built in to the system, right? So that's one thing about user-defined data types. So it's important to understand these divisions because if you don't learn them right now, then later on they are going to cause confusions because in this chapter you think you know this stuff, but you don't if you don't understand this division, right? So data types, different types of data types, two types of data types, built-in or primitive, and user-defined. And now user-defined data types have got its own two other types, right? And those are non-composite data types and composite data types. And these divisions are easy to remember. Why do I say that? Because the name kind of already gives it away. So primitive data types, oh, sorry, I just stepped in my glasses. Never mind. So the name kind of gives it away. Primitive data types or primary data types because they're built in, and built-in data types already tells you what kind of data types it is. User defined means that they are defined by the user, and the non-composite means that when you make a data type, or let's call it a non-atomic, sorry, atomic data types, or they are not built by any other data types. So these are data types on themselves, right? All alone. They're not made by other data types, right? Like they're data types which are made by other data types. Non-composite data types are the ones that are not made by other data types. Or in other words, you cannot divide this data type into more data types. It's just the most, simplest of the data types, right? Non-composite ones. An example of this could be from chemistry. In chemistry, what are elements? If you have ever studied chemistry, there is something we call elements, right? What are elements? Stuff that cannot be broken down more, into more elements that are elements. The most basic, the most simple of elements, right? Or the most simple or basic of substances, right? Think of it this way: non-composite data types are just the elements of computer science, or are just the elements of data types, right? And similarly, or ironically, or paradoxically, if I were to put it that way, composite data types are made with other data types, right? They are made with other data types. So do you take help of other data types in order to make these data types, right? Now, another thing that you might find confusing in the past paper is what are which. Like you're going to learn a bunch of more types of data types now. Now I'm going to, just like over here, I told you different data types. Now I'm going to tell you more data types, right? And which ones are non-composite and which ones are composite. This is something that confuses people. This is something used to forget often, like many times, many, many, many times, right? So it's important to know which are which. And I should start writing the list now. So in the non-composite data types, like data types which don't take the help of other data types to come into being, it's enumerated data types. Enumerated is a data type, right? And what it is, I'm just going to talk about it in a second, okay? There's another thing we call the subrange, but that is not included in the syllabus. Neither have I ever seen them in the past papers. So I'm just going to write it here just so that you have some extra thing on your notes. But yeah, it's a thing, right? And now for the composite data types, the very first thing are records, and then there are sets, you know, and there are pointers. These three are enough, I think. Yep, these are. So now we're going to, make two lectures, right? One on non-composite data types and one on composite data types, right? So for the non-composite data types, we only have one. I know we have two, but I said that subrange is not included, so we just have one. In the non-composite data types, we have enumerated data types. Now comes the stuff for memorization. This box looks really bad. Now comes the stuff for memorization. Remember when you were doing pseudocode, there is going to be quite a lot of pseudocode, new syntaxes, new syntaxes in here that you have to memorize. Okay? You just have to memorize this, all this syntax now. And we're going to learn about all of these syntaxes one by one. Okay? And pointers are a bit confusing. We're going to talk about it later on. First, let's just do enumerated data type. So what is this data type? What even are enumerated data types, right? They're just, a list of ordered. These two words are important. They're just a list of ordered elements, stored under the same identifier, with the same data type and stuff. And obviously they're defined by the program. Why are they defined by the programmer? Because we're studying non-composite data type, which is a part, or which is, yep, it is a part of user-defined data types, right? Now for the syntax, um, you know what? If you have ever heard about arrays or lists, which you should have because we're in A2 now, it's kind of like the same thing. It is kind of like the same thing. So the syntax for it is, and now before I tell you the syntax, I think there are a few more things. And other words that you can use in the definition are self-contained. These are self-contained data types, non-composite data types, and they don't refer to or contain other data types. This is just the professional or more suitable, appropriate wording for the definition, right? And yes, we're going to learn about this for the composite as well. Okay, it's just the same thing. These are not self-contained, and they don't and they do refer to and contain other data types. Just that, right? It's just the opposite of composite. Okay, so the syntax for it is, first of all, you write type in all caps. Type, that is the first thing, and then you write the variable name. The variable name, right? And is equal to sign, and then in brackets you write everything that you know you want to write, like for example, uh never mind, element 1 comma element 2 comma so on, and then you close the brackets. This is the syntax, right? The simple syntax for it all. Now if I was to give you an example, let me just open my past papers real quick. Let's say somebody asks you to, yeah, no. And now I'm going to read a question from the past papers. A data type to hold a set of prime numbers below 20, right? And these prime numbers are, and then they tell you the prime numbers as well. Let's say we need to make an enumerated data type to contain the prime numbers under 10. Let's just not do um, till 20 or below 20. Let's do uh, prime numbers below 10. The prime numbers are 2, 3, 5, 7. Yep, these are it. These are them. I mean, how would you write it? You would say type, right? And then the variable name, you can name it anything, anything that you want, but it should be meaningful, obviously. So, I mean, you're not going to write names of months to store the prime numbers. Obviously, you're going to write prime numbers, right? And then starting the brackets, that would be 2, 3, 5, 7, right? Or maybe that is your enumerated data type. Congratulations, you just made your first data type, right? Maybe these were the prime numbers question, right? Let me give you another question. Let's say you want to, store days of the week, right? That is one of the questions from the past papers, right? So you can do it this way. Type instead of prime numbers, you write days. Sometimes you're also going to see key in the beginning of, the variable name. It's nothing to worry about. I mean, and moreover, it's not necessary. So sorry. I mean, type day is equal to starting the brackets, and I'm just going to write Monday, Tuesday, and then, all of the days. You don't write this though, by the way. You don't write the dots. I'm just writing just to save time, right? You have to write it all the way to Sunday, right? I'm just going to write Sunday in here. Suppose I have written all of the names of the days inside a week, right? Now notice one thing. You can say, sir, this is a string, so shouldn't you be doing this? This is a mistake that people make. You better not do this. You know why? Because if I was to write it in quotation marks, I'm going to make it a composite data type, right? Why? Because I'm using a primitive data type inside of this, right? So it wouldn't be a non-composite data type anymore, right? So you don't write it this way. Do not do that. Do not use quotation marks over here. Whatever you write inside of this thing, it can be a boolean value. It's not a boolean value normally, but it can be regardless of whether it's a piece of text, special characters, passwords, ages, integers, marks, grades, whatever it may be. You don't try to write in quotation marks. It's just going to be, the way it is. It's not going to be in quotation marks or anything like that. So that was your enumerated data type. Inshallah ta'ala, in the next question, we're going to learn what non-composite data types are. We're going to learn what non-composite data types are, and we're going to start learning records. So inshallah ta'ala, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.